around, and with red color. My dear friends, the spring has sprung, and I can't be happier to come back to you on this YouTube channel. I want to draw with you something special, something beautiful, and we will paint 3 different postcards with super easy flowers. We won't draw anything, we will go straight away with watercolors. It will be super easy. 3 exercises, 5 minutes each, and you will see how easy it is to stay creative, how easy it is to be an artist, and how easy it is to create a handmade postcard for your beloved ones. For those of you who are for the first time here on my channel, my name is Alla. I'm a sketch illustrator and watercolorist. From 2020, I'm an art teacher too. And in today's class, we will be painting flowers, easy flowers. So let's get started. For this class, we need very few supplies because we will be drawing the flowers in a very easy form. We will need a smaller paintbrush. I'm using Da Vinci Nova Synthetics number 4. It is a super tiny paintbrush that we can paint a lot of details. I will use my Van Gogh 12 plus 3 colors, the watercolors. It is a student grade color watercolors, and but the colors are pretty good. Here I have all my palette that I prepared with the colors that I have here. I will need a tissue, watercolor paper obviously, and a palette that I will be mixing up the colors, and plain water. So let's start. We will create a bunch of different flowers in different sides. So the first bunch of flowers that I would like to paint with you will be lavender flower. For this, I will take some green color and will create the stems and the leaves. So paint the stems as you wish to create the bunch effect. Later on, I will take my quinacridone rose colors that it is here. Quinacridone color is very similar to kind of lilac color, quinacridone rose. And we start creating small dots over this each of the stem that we have painted. If the dots are coming on one into another, don't worry either. The lavender flower will look very beautiful. You can go over the stem if you feel necessary, if you feel that your stems are too long. And little by little, I'm finishing my bunch of flowers. Because my greenery here, my stems have dried, I will take green color again and will add some leaves in between. To this green, to create a more interesting color, I will add some blue color. I will use ultramarine deep, and I will increase the intensity of my green color and will add somewhere darker shades, not everywhere. And for my quinacridone rose color, I will add some ultramarine to make it violet. We'll take more blue to make a very beautiful violet color. And now I will add some smaller dots here below in between the flower and the stem to create a darker color of these beautiful flowers. Don't worry if the paper is still wet, because in this way the color is just spreading prettier. And now I take quinacridone and I will take another paintbrush. So with quinacridone rose color, I will make the splattering effect. I will have beautiful dots around. I will take this violet color that I have done later and will add more dots with the violet color. And if you want, you can also take some green and make some green dots too. So the first bunch of flowers is done. Let's proceed with the second one. Now I prepared another piece of paper, and what I will do, I will paint poppies. The poppies, I do not have red color. Here I have like permanent red light, but it looks more like orange. And what I will do, I will add some Madder Lake deep color that it is warmer. So I will have this kind of color. And for this, with this color that I prepared, with this mix-up, if you want, you can take only Madder Lake color. It is also beautiful, but I will take a mix. And let's paint. I will paint the petals of the poppies. You can paint it like this, you can paint smaller flower, how you wish. Just make an interesting way of painting the petals. Do not paint exactly like I do, just leave your creativity to flow and enjoy the process. I will take more color because it is too light. I took too much water and I want to make the color deeper. And now I will take green color that I have here and I will mix with ultramarine deep color. I want to have this green super dark, cooler in color, and I will start to paint here the stem for each flower. I have also the green flowers, the buttons. And I'll paint the leaves. I can add more green color and to make it lighter. It is great to use different green colors, not only one, because the work looks more interesting. And now I can take as well another paintbrush or a pencil and to make this splattering effect with green color around and with red color. So the postcard number 2 with spring flowers is done. And third flower that we will paint will be dandelions. Let's paint several dandelions. And how we paint? Very easy. We take yellow color, just whatever color you have, and we paint like crossing the lines and creating a bunch of lines, beautiful lines. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, as you wish. Just make it interesting for you. In any drawing that you do, everything that you paint, just look what it is interesting for you. Don't look what others say that you should do or paint. Enjoy the process. Don't worry about the result. Only practicing you will learn new things. I said that I will make it bigger. And now I will take some permanent red light with yellow and will mix it. So I have here, I will get some orange color and I will get inside, meanwhile it is still wet, I will get this color. To create darker color. And now I have green color, but this time I'm not mixing up with ultramarine, but I will mix with yellow color. I want to make this green brighter. I want to make it light and warm. And I will create the stems. And as well I will create some greenery here. I will take more green to create darker colors too. And I will take as well some ultramarine color and will mix up to this green. So we'll have different shades of green. Now let's take a pencil and to make some drops. As you can see, in only 15 minutes we managed to draw 3 different bunches of flowers. I hope you enjoyed this process and I hope you will paint more flowers. Now I will show you all the flowers that we painted today. And I think this is amazing to start this spring with these beautiful and easy exercises in watercolors. So here we have. For today's class, as I mentioned, we will paint daisies. For this, we will need watercolor paper 300 GSM or higher density. You will need a washi tape to stick the paper onto your table, or if you have a watercolor pad, it is also great. You will need a pencil and eraser. You will need fluid mask. You will need a paintbrush that you are not using, something old that we will use for fluid mask. And two paintbrushes, one for painting the background and another one for the details. As well, we will need a flat paintbrush for wetting up the paper and to create the wet and wet technique. As well, you will need obviously watercolors. I will use my 36 pens watercolors White Night. We will need as well plain water and hair dryer. Somewhere we will need also a tissue. So look whatever you have. And let's get started. First, let's start with the drawing of daisies and the field of those. I will draw several circles, several ovals on the paper. Some of the daisies I will represent smaller, others daisies I will represent bigger. And I position the center of the flower, and on the other flowers I also position the oval where will be the petals. And I start to draw petals. Some of the petals, because will be closer to the viewer eye, will be longer and bigger, and others will stay farther and will have a smaller size. So let's do each of the flowers that we want to paint. Later on we will paint smaller daisies with white watercolors, but the main ones we will mask with fluid mask, and those will stay white. Meanwhile we will paint the background. Now I'm taking my kneadable eraser to erase the intensity of the pencil drawing. Why I decide to do it? Because later on, once we will apply watercolors, those will be clearly seen, and we don't need those to be visible. And now I'm looking for an older paintbrush to take some soap on it and to use the fluid mask on these daisies. I proceed with fluid mask and I pay attention where I apply it. It is very important that you apply it only on the flower wherever you want to paint the daisy. If you apply it more, then the paper will stay white once we will remove it. It is very important that your paintbrush to be with soap first before we use it, because if not, the fluid mask will be really difficult to remove from your paintbrushes. And now, as far as you notice, I take it on the top of the paintbrush, the fluid mask, and apply it. Once you finish with fluid mask, I advise you to leave it to dry at room temperature and not with hair dryer, because if not, the paper will get damaged, and once we would like to remove the fluid mask. Now I have started again with my work, and I took a flat paintbrush and plain water, and I apply on all the surface without any doubt with the water, and I wet very well the paper till we can start with uh, painting with wet on wet technique. I take my squirrel paintbrush Da Vinci number 0, and I take bright blue color to apply on the sky. I apply with consistent color, because as we work with wet on wet technique, if we are taking less color, later on once the paper will dry, it will stay lighter. So this is the reason that I will add more color later. As you see, you can move around as you wish there and forth, because when we work with wet and wet technique, the color is smoothly running from one side to another and creates a beautiful transition from one color to another. But obviously, I also help it to do it with my paintbrush. Now we proceed with painting the greenery, and I will start with yellow color first, because it is the lighter one. And as far as you know, in greenery we have different colors of green, but I decided to go with yellow just in case to make it lighter. Then I move on with olive green color, that it is also very light and has a lot of yellow shades on it. And pay attention at the moves. If the sky I was going from one side to another to have a consistent color, then here for the greenery I'm drawing it from below to above in this way to create these interesting lines of different colors. The color will run even though and will make interesting transitions. Later on I take green, light green, that it is very light and cool. And now I take more green color till I will finish and will add more blue color into the greenery. In this way I create these lines, these stems, and as well I make a beautiful transition from lighter colors to darker ones, and to have beautiful highlights and shadow. Now pay attention that I take some blue color and green color to create this cooler greenery. I finished my work with the greenery, and now it's the moment to take a hair dryer and to dry the work. So you see the work is dried, and now I will start to remove the fluid mask from the flowers. As you can see, the color of watercolor stays on the fluid mask, and I can mess it up with my hand. So first I remove the color from the flowers, and then I start. Here the kneadable eraser won't work, so we need a normal eraser that you can erase the fluid mask. It will help you, but even though I advise you to take carefully it with your fingers, because sometimes the rubber can damage the paper, and you will have unpleasant touches on this. It can help, but pay attention not to remove it too quick and too heavy. Now once I removed the fluid mask, I take some green color and I paint the stems again with my paintbrush. I make some thinner lines because when we dried up the greenery you can clearly see that the color merged one into another, mixed up very well. And we need to create the stems for each of the daisy flowers. Now I will take yellow color and I will represent the inside part of the daisy. I add some golden color or orange color to create the popping up effect and create some shadow. Now I will take some gray color and I will start to apply on each petal and to represent the shadow. As I mentioned earlier, the daisies are not white in real life and we have colors on those. How I create this gray color? I mixed up three colors. I mixed up ultramarine color, ruby color and yellow color. And in this way, when the proportions are equal, we uh, have a gray color. If you don't want to mix it up, you can take Payne's gray color. It will also help you to create a beautiful gray color for your flowers. Now I'm taking some green color and I will do some splattering effect on the paper to create some interesting dots on the paper. It will create an interesting way of watching the work and will catch up the viewer's attention. Same thing I'm doing with white watercolors, and as well I will paint some daisies with white watercolors. If you don't have white watercolors, you can do it with white gouache or tempera. It will have even better effect because white watercolors, when it dries, it becomes really light. But tempera will stay brighter and it will stay white. And as far as you see, we need it for very small flowers. I also added some yellow color to create the contrast as well and to make it prettier. It's time to remove the washi tape and the work is done. Thank you for watching. After teaching for more than 4 years, I entered 2024 with a clear goal in my mind. I want to bring something useful to the world. And perhaps I need to change my mindset and give even more. Although I've always been generous, I realized that my focus has been on certain individuals, particularly artists who have already chosen art as their path. I haven't given as much to beginners or those who have never considered drawing or painting. You might argue that they don't need to paint, but looking back, I understand that everyone needs to paint at least from time to time. I witnessed how art helped me overcome many difficult emotions, believing in its power to influence our thoughts. During my classes, I saw people transform and become happier, many of whom had never painted before. Motivated by this, I decided to research this connection and found that painting offers numerous benefits that can enrich one's life in various ways. But before I share those, I want to say that my name is Alla. I'm a sketch illustrator and watercolorist, and from 2020 I'm an art teacher too. And during today's video I invite you to paint one snowdrop alone, like we are doing now, and later on a bunch of snowdrops. We will draw and paint those together in watercolors. And if you feel like I'm going too fast, you can always pause the video and retake the moment where you have stopped. If you are wondering which materials I'm using, I have a watercolor paper 200 GSM. You can use even higher density, but it should be for watercolors specifically. I worked with drawing with a pencil HB, and as an eraser I used a kneadable eraser from Faber-Castell. I erased the snowdrop after drawing it, mainly because when we work with watercolors we need that the colors stay transparent, and if the drawing it is drawn with a really clear line, then this line will pop up. And the watercolors work like fixative, then later you cannot erase the lines that were drawn earlier. This is why we erase the hardest part of the drawing and then only proceed with watercolors. For watercolors I use my watercolors 36 pens White Nights, and paintbrushes I use my synthetic paintbrush Da Vinci No. 4 Nova Synthetics. And for if we are working with the colors, I use olive green for the stem, and I use a mix of ultramarine ochre color and ruby color for the flowers to recreate this grayish color. If you don't have olive green, you can use a green color with yellow for the stem. Later on, for the shadow on the stem, I will be using green color, or you can use olive green with a little bit of ultramarine color. In this way, you will have the cool shadow applied. So meanwhile you are working on this beautiful snowdrop, let's proceed with my research and with the connection that I found about how painting offers different and numerous benefits that can enrich our lives. And I have summed it up because I found a lot of things, but I summed up into 5 points, the most important ones that I thought that are the ones that are leading and that everyone have noticed when they have painted at least once. So the first one is creative expression. Painting provides a unique way to create something new, allowing the conveyance of emotions, thoughts, and experiences in a visual language that often goes beyond words. The second sum up is stress relief. The painting process can be a very therapeutic and stress relieving activity, calming the mind, reducing stress levels, and promoting relaxation. Coming back to my experience in 2019, I had a very huge stress, and I remember how through art, how through painting on a daily basis, I just went out from this stress and I found out the way how to follow along and not to get closed inside. The third benefit that I think that is important as well is mindfulness. Through painting, we focus on the present moment, leading to a meditative experience as we concentrate on colors, strokes, and overall on composition. And if talking about the composition, if in the previous drawing with one snowdrop we didn't need to recreate the composition, then when working on 2 or 3 snowdrops, we usually have to create this composition on our paper in such a way that it catches up the viewer eye. So this is why when we are drawing something, we have to be guided through the rules of the composition, because it is just better for us and it's more pleasing once the work will be done. This is why now we are not talking about the composition. I will talk about it maybe on the other video, but meanwhile just pay attention that the way I draw these snowdrops are very pleasant to the eyes. The fourth benefit is joy and fulfillment. Creating something visually pleasing or meaningful brings a sense of accomplishment and joy. Seeing a finished work provides a source of fulfillment, satisfaction. Remember your way when once you finish a work or you finish something, even in your job, that you feel fulfilled and satisfied. Same happens in painting, and this is just wonderful. And the fifth benefit is self-discovery. People who haven't painted before may discover hidden talents during the process of painting. They can find their preferences and aspects of themselves previously unknown. During my classes with red wine, I found out that many people who haven't painted like from their early ages, they found the painting with red wine really relaxing, and many times they told me that they will proceed painting because they discovered how pleasant it is, this moment of painting, of discovering something new, of enjoying themselves. Obviously, these 5 aspects are not the only ones, and not only these benefits can give painting the process of painting to one's life. There are a lot of other positive changes that happen in our body, but I decided to share only these 5 because those are really related to me, and I feel like these are very common to myself, and for sure you will recognize yourself in these words too. While not everyone needs to become a professional painter, the act of painting, even in a casual recreational manner, can contribute positively to overall well-being, bringing a unique form of joy and fulfillment. As I aim to infuse more meaning into my teaching classes during this 2024, I've decided to share this step-by-step guidance on drawing and painting a snowdrop alone, and then a bunch of those, because I want to share the meaning behind of this. In 2024, I feel like I'm rebirthing and creating a new way to express my thoughts about art. And similar to the symbolism of snowdrops and the meaning they carry. So I think that the values that I want to bring in 2024 are very similar to the symbolism of these snowdrops that we paint today. Snowdrops are the flowers that typically bloom in late winter or early spring, and are associated with various symbolic meanings. Those symbolize hope, the renewal of life as winter transitions to spring. Those also convey a message of resilience by enduring harsh winter conditions, evoking a sense of untouched beauty. Snowdrops are sometimes considered symbols of comfort during difficult times. Overall, symbolism of snowdrops encompasses themes of hope, purity, resilience, and the beauty found in the new beginnings. Just as snowdrops embody multifaceted meanings, the art of painting offers a tapestry of benefits, becoming a therapeutic endeavor, a source of stress relief, and a means to foster mindfulness. While not everyone needs to wield a brush professionally, painting, much like the symbolism of snowdrops, contributes positively to overall well being, offering a unique form of joy and fulfillment in life's shared tapestry. As we came to an end of this video, I want to say thank you for those of you who stayed till this moment with me. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like and comment if you have your thoughts on this. As well, why I want you to subscribe to this channel, because I want to share more videos with more meanings in the background and more practice exercises for the beginner level painters and artists. And for more advanced level, you can join my Patreon, where I share more works with a higher level of painting, and there I share other type of references to paint from. Thank you very much and see you next time. I invite you to paint with me a beautiful poppy flowers. I take some ruby color and I add a lot of water. And first thing that I will do, I will recreate with this color the main form of the poppy. And we can have an open poppy that will have this kind of wavy form. Let me take and prepare more color. As the color it is just too light, it should be a little bit darker. And let's paint a poppy that is closed. Now I add a little bit of intensity here in the middle. Meanwhile, it is still wet with the wet on wet technique. And I take the technique with dry on wet. I need to take more color and less water. And for example, here and here, because the paper started to dry, I take with plain water and remove the edges. And meanwhile it is drying, I will take some green color and will replicate the stem. Now I will dry the work. I dried the flower and now again I will replicate here another petal. I dried the work again because the colors started to mix one into another and it wasn't the idea. And with indigo color Here we come to the end of this art tutorial on how to paint beautiful poppy flowers. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me in the comments. I will be super happy to read all of your comments. Hi friends, welcome to my channel. Today we will paint flowers in watercolors and we'll talk about the positive impact of this exercise as for the well-being and for the painting and improving your artistic skills. For those of you who are for the first time here, my name is Alla, I'm a sketch illustrator and watercolorist, and from 2020 I'm an art teacher too. So bring your supplies and let's get started. You will need watercolor paper, some watercolor paints, and any medium-sized paintbrush. So let's jump in. Painting flowers can have a positive impact on your mental health and well-being. According to a study, bright colors promote uplift, and regular experiences of these can help ward off some mental health problems the one that have. Painting is a fun and relaxing activity, and it can even improve your mood. The human brain reacts positively to the aesthetics of a painting, which research suggests is a biological and neuroanatomical response dating back to prehistoric times. Painting can be a hugely cathartic experience, allowing you to access feelings buried deep within your subconscious. Painting can also help us deal with those feelings by giving them a physical shape, removing the anguish involved when keeping feelings hidden. So flowers can free us from anxiety, depression, and the everyday worries of life. It is a known fact that each color of the color wheel has a meaning of its own. So for example, red symbolizes anger, danger, or love. Blue simultaneously is a color that represents calmness and sadness. Oppositely, yellow can mean happiness and good fortune. Understanding these, flowers and their colors influence our mood and determine how we feel at this moment. So I advise you that once you paint this flower, you can follow along the colors I choose, or you can take any even brighter color to keep and enjoy this work with me. Painting has many benefits beyond just being a fun and relaxing activity. So here are some of the benefits of the painting. I already mentioned those in another video of mine, but I just want to repeat those because I think that this is super important information and super interesting one. So the benefits of a painting are it boosts our creativity. So painting can help you expand your creativity by drawing inspiration from different sources, brainstorming ideas, and learning to work with colors and materials to make something unique. Painting also improves problem-solving skills, as it is a natural part of the creative process and requires problem-solving skills. By painting, you hone those skills and improve your creative mind while also developing critical thinking abilities. It is also well known within kids that it enhances fine motor skills, and not only for kids, but mainly when we start painting, it is at the kids' age, so when we are very small one. And painting helps develop our fine motor skills, which is when you use the small muscles in your hands and the wrists to make delicate or precise movements. So these activities are especially important for young children, but as I mentioned, adults can benefit from strengthening these muscles too. Painting also encourages positivity and offers stress relief, what we were talking earlier, and it reduces stress level, especially for group painting activities. Not only will you be socializing and receiving positive feedback from the other people painting with you, but you will be creating something beautiful that you can take pride in. So painting allows for emotional release because it stimulates the creative side of your mind while focusing your attention in one single place, which can lower anxiety. And one of the last benefits of painting, it is not the last, but within the main ones, it is the last one, it bolsters memory, concentration, and spatial awareness. Painting requires your mind to visualize a concept or idea, and then recreate it as your paint, tapping into and building your memory skills. And if talking about the positive impact, not only from the well-being point of view, but also how it improves your artistic skill, then I would like to speak more about such notions as drawing lines, learning the color theory, color mixing, and so much more. So we all know that more you draw, the greater will be your expertise. And I prepared several tips that can help you improve your painting skills. One of the main tip is obviously I will advise you to practice. More you practice, more you paint, the better you will become. And this advice you will hear from all artists, and it is true. You don't need to have any background in fine art school, but you clearly can become an artist only by practicing. So if considering someone who finished fine art school, let's say approximately like 10 years ago, and you who are painting 1 year already day by day, for sure you will have better results than the person who has a background in fine arts. So practice painting simple lines and shapes, improve your brush control and hand-eye coordination, what helps you to be a better version of you than you were yesterday. Another tip I always give to my students is that you have to study the masters. You should look at the works of famous painters and study their techniques. You even should try to replicate their styles and learn from their methods. Many people say, oh, I'm not artist at all. If I will just copy someone's work, then I can do it, but alone I cannot. Believe me that after a lot of practice, after looking at someone who is doing the class or who is sharing his or her techniques during the painting, at a certain moment you will feel confident on your own works and you will see that you can do it on your own as well. Obviously, from the first 2 or 3 classes, it is not always is enough, but learning different styles from different masters, it is a great exercise because you take the best of the technique from that master. Even in my case, when students are doing on my Patreon or are doing, for example, my classes with red wine, I always advise them to look on other artists' work too, and as well to practice with other artists, because they can learn some techniques with me, but for sure they can improve their artistic skills with other techniques from other artists. And only after studying masters, the person can get their own style. You cannot get your own style after the first drawing. Or if you, for example, you used to paint only looking at one artist only, you will just replicate the skills of that master, and at the end, once you will try to get your style, you will have the style of that master. But once you learn from different artists, you develop another style that is your own. Another tip is that you can experiment with different materials. For example, you can try painting with different brushes, paints, and surfaces to see what works best for you. Experimenting with different materials can help you find your own unique style that I was talking earlier. But as well, when you are working with different masters, they are working with different types of paper, with different brushes, with different not only techniques but also different materials. And you can learn each material that works better for you and which one is working better for you and which result is getting better for you and which style is getting amazed for you. And another tip that it is obvious from the first 3 points is that you should take a class and consider taking painting classes to learn new techniques and get feedback on your work. Painting classes can also be a great way to meet other artists and get inspired. It is a great way to look for YouTube videos but also I advise you to go on live classes, to go on online classes, on present classes, where you can meet your teacher, where the teacher can share your doubts, explain your doubts, and to answer all of your questions you have. And because this video is about watercolors and how to paint flowers in watercolors, and this is actually the medium that I work a lot, and I think that anyone can start with, then I would like to share some tips on how to initiate with this specific medium. Before we start with the tips, I also want to mention that on my classes with red wine, many people say that watercolors is a difficult medium to work with and that it is not forgiving medium. Actually, it is a forgiving medium, but it is true that the techniques that are applied in watercolors are different from oil or acrylics or gouache, what makes look this medium to be difficult. But I always say, if you start with easy exercises, then don't worry, you will get what you want. So, let's jump in. So you will need watercolor paper, I mentioned already at the beginning. You will need watercolor paints and brushes. Then you have to start with simple projects, like painting a landscape or a still life. So this will help you get comfortable with the medium and build your confidence. Watch tutorials. There are many tutorials available online that can help you learn the basics of watercolor painting. So YouTube is a great resource for finding tutorials. Take classes. So I mentioned already that the classes will help you to learn new techniques and get feedback for your work. And practice. More you paint, the better you will become. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. I'll be super happy to answer all of your questions. And obviously don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. For creating the bookmarks, I will need an A4 size watercolor pad. I will take one piece of paper and I will split this paper into two sides. Now I take the size of the A4 size paper and I split it into two parts to get an A5 size. So the bookmarks to create some beautiful flowers. I prepared 3 bookmarks, but it will be split into 3 videos that will appear during this week. I wanted to share all 3 bookmarks in one video, but because it is an art tutorial, it was way too long. And this is why I decided to split it into 3. As I mentioned, I split an A5 size paper into 3 parts, and I start with one paper. For the bookmarks, I use the watercolor paper 200 GSM 100% cotton. With the watercolors, I use my 36 pens White Nights, and as far as you see, I prepare already my palette. All the colors that I use, I add a lot of water because I will work with glazing technique and we need very light colors at the beginning. On my palette from top to the bottom, I used violet color first, then quinacridone rose with a little bit of carmine mix. Then the third flower is carmine. Then we have green color and olive green color. I start with carmine color and with lots of water. And I start with the bottom of the bookmarks because I will have more flowers at the bottom and less at the top. I slightly add some olive green color in this mix to create this beautiful transition from carmine color to olive green color. Somewhere I add more water, somewhere I add less water and more color. I used now for these petals a little bit of violet color and I added some carmine to create this losing effect. Pay attention that somewhere I use more water, somewhere I use more color. I want to make different petals with different intensity of color. For example, this flower I started with olive green and slightly I added some carmine color.
Somewhere I add some quinacridone rose, but it is not pure quinacridone rose color, it is a mix of quinacridone and carmine color. As for details, I add some violet color to create some cooler effect. Now I share more of my palette, as you can see which colors I use more. As you see, I prepared more quinacridone rose and with a little touch of carmine in this mix of colors. The idea is to fill this bookmark with flowers, simple flowers, and with some petals. Somewhere I use more green, olive green, for the leaf effect or for the petals effect, but with greener shades. I decided to go with main flowers first and later on to add some petals and to create the interesting composition. Somewhere I add flowers with 3 petals, somewhere I add flowers with 5 petals, somewhere I add some greenery to recreate the leaf effect. Just look what works better for you. You see that the first flowers are already drying and the color stays a little bit lighter. This happens when the paper is cotton and it is called press. If, for example, we have the hot pressed paper, usually the color is not changing as much and not staying lighter. If at the bottom I used more quinacridone rose color, now I try to use more violet and to make some lighter petals. I finished with my first layer and my paper already dried, but if you feel like you need to dry it first, then you can use a hair dryer to dry it and then to apply the second layer. On the second layer I already take more color, less water, and I add details. The details are very simple. I just use some dots in the middle and some lines to create this depth effect on the petals of the flowers. For example, on some petals I use some green to recreate the top of it with more greenery. Somewhere I add green even on the flower, so just look what you feel like it is needed. For this I used green color. I don't use any shades of green, it is pure green. And I haven't mentioned, but for the details I used to work with carmine color. It is darker than quinacridone rose and it allows us to create really interesting effects. As you can see this work closer, you can see that on the first layer when I have been applying some olive green, some quinacridone rose color or some green color, the colors were mixing up one into another, and look what a beautiful effect, losing effect it was creating, and the colors were transferring from one color into another. And now with the details we just reaffirm these flowers and making those to pop up and to catch up the viewer eye. And my last step for this bookmark is to take some green color and to add some stems to connect all these flowers, all these petals in one stem. or in several different stems that come together. As an advice, if you feel like I'm painting too quick, you can pause this video at any time, or you can have the option on YouTube to make it slower, and in such a way you can follow along step by step. On the other hand, we are finishing these bookmarks. If you enjoyed painting with me, please don't hesitate to like and share this video, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions, also leave some comments below. I will be super happy to answer all of your questions. Today we will proceed with the second bookmark, and as I mentioned in my previous video, we will need watercolor paper. I took the A4 size, split it into two, and then split it into three parts. And now the second part, we start with the second bookmarks. My palette of colors is the same as on the previous video. So from top to bottom we have violet, we have quinacridone rose, we have carmine, and then on the right side we have green and olive green colors. As you see, I started with the greenery first and with the stems first and not with the flowers. The main reason is that because we haven't drawn the flowers previously and we go straight away with watercolors, I added these stems to recreate the effect of a bunch of flowers, and in this way to recreate the composition. Later on we can add the stems and add some leaves as well, but at the beginning it will guide us throughout how many flowers we will paint at the beginning. And once I have little by little done some stems and some greenery, I proceed with flowers. The greenery I made with different greens, different shades of green, because I like the effect of changing the colors from one to another. Now I proceed with flowers. I take some quinacridone rose color and I apply some leaves. I don't pay attention to how many leaves I paint, I just go by heart. I just enjoy the process of painting. The same I advise to you. And now you can see that I added to my palette some yellow color, adding in such a way some splashing of color on my bookmark. And I also make some mixes of colors, so I don't take only quinacridone. For example, here you can see quinacridone with yellow, have a very beautiful light color. And here I took some carmine color, somewhere I take violet color. I'm taking different colors mainly to recreate this wildness. I feel like yellow color is too strong, and I took a tissue to lift up the color, because if compared to other flowers, the other flowers were lighter in color than these yellow colors. And now I proceed with adding more yellow colors, but with adding some quinacridone rose in it and creating this transition of colors. My first layer is done more or less, and now I will proceed with some details. Somewhere I will still add some first layer too, but for example on my first flowers that I painted previously, I already see that the paper dried and I want to add some details. I add some English red with carmine to create strongness and add some details inside and some popping up effect. It can be that your paper is dried more than mine, or it can be that it is less dried than mine. You can adjust these details as you wish. I just added these splashes of colors because I wanted to create some stronger details. Still, the paper is not dried completely, and these details are running and creating this beautiful losing effect. Meanwhile, the paper still dries. After adding some popping up effect on my flowers, I add more stems and more greenery. When I started, I use a mix of olive green and green colors and add some details just how I like it. If you feel like you want to change slightly the painting the flowers, then you can change. As well, on the other hand, I know that I'm painting really quick. If you feel like I'm going too quick, you can pause this video at any time, or you have the option on YouTube channel to make it slower, that the video is going slower than it is, and in this way you can work with me. I added some intensity in color on the first leaves that I made it, because these leaves are in front of us and those have to catch up the viewer attention. And I add more details on the paper, more leaves, more greenery, more stems, and completing my composition and creating this bunch effect. As my paper dried during the process of painting, I decided to add even more details on flowers and to catch up even more the viewer attention. You can do it too. I use carmine color for all these details. You can add any strong red colors that you have, or any strong color as you wish. We came up to the end of this art tutorial. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me or write in the comments below. I will be super happy to answer all of your questions. As well, please like this video, subscribe to my channel. Hi guys, this is Ala and welcome back to my channel. Today we will proceed with another beautiful bookmark in watercolors, where we will be painting blooming flowers. For this, we will need watercolor paper, split it into 6 sides, and we will get this side. Then we will need some paintbrushes, watercolor. I will be using my 36 pens watercolor white nights. And if considering the colors that we will need only 2 colors. I will be using quinacridone rose, the color that I use now for the flowers, and the green color for the stem. I have different colors on my palette from my previous videos that I have already uploaded, and this is why you see so many colors. And maybe later on the details I will add some carmine color too. How we paint the petals on these flowers. Imagine that we have hearts, and we have 3 hearts that are connected together, and we create these beautiful petals. So as you see, I paint like 3 small hearts, one close to another. Especially for you, I zoomed this video that you can watch closer how I do it. So imagine that I paint like small heart, another small heart, and the third small heart. And in this way we create a beautiful petal of the flower. The idea is that by the end we get a round flower, and this is why now even if I start from the middle, then you will see that I will paint these flowers all around to recreate the circled form, and later on I will add small details. Pay attention that the intensity of the color of my quinacridone rose color is different on each petal. Somewhere I use more water, somewhere I use more color. The size of the paintbrush that I use, it is number 4 Nova Synthetics by Da Vinci. If you have any smaller paintbrush, it will work even better. But also here is a trick that if you want to control more the water on your paintbrush, what you can do, you can take a tissue and remove slightly the excess of water on the paintbrush. In this way it will be easier for you to paint these smaller details on the flower. As I mentioned earlier, I go around with my petals to recreate the circle, mainly because it is easier to understand how much I have to do this circle and to have a circled form and not another form that it is not wanted by the end of this work. Pay also attention that part of the petals that have 6 petals in this, I also use petals with less small petals, like for example only 1 heart or only 2 hearts, depending on the space I have on my paper. I use one or another size. I zoomed out the work that you can see how it turned out this circled form. And now with carmine color, but you also can use the same quinacridone color with more color and less water, I add small details. I don't add the details on each petals. I only maximize the catching up attention to some specific petals, not on all the flower. And as well, I create this visual interesting way that some of the petals are flying away from the main flowers. I'm back to the main flower where I add more details with the carmine color. In this way, I create more details and an interesting catching up attention part for the viewer who will watch this bookmark. Right now, it came to my mind an idea to run a giveaway. And all of you who have painted with me now this beautiful bookmark or any of the previous 2 bookmarks from my previous 2 videos on my channel, if you tag me on Instagram with the result, each of you will receive a link from a full class from my Patreon classes on how to paint hydrangea. So just let me know, I will be super happy to share it with you. The flower is painted and let's proceed with the stem. For the stem, I use the green color from my palette. If you want, you can mix the blue and yellow color as you wish. If you want, you can take any green color that you have. And I make an interesting as well leaf for this stem. We came to the end of this work. I hope you enjoyed painting with me. If you are painting any of the other bookmarks as well, don't forget about the giveaway that I'm running out. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like it, share it with beloved ones who like to paint too. Leave some comments if you have questions, and as well, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching. Hi guys, this is Ala. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I invite you to paint a beautiful Easter postcard in watercolors. For this, we will need watercolor paper A6 size, watercolor paints, water, a paintbrush. I will be using number 4 Nova Synthetics by Da Vinci, and I'm using a glass. The glass I need for creating the round circle for the wreath that we will be painting. I applied the green color on the top of the glass to recreate the circled form of the wreath that I will be painting on this paper. And then I just apply this top of the glass on the paper and I recreate the circled form of the wreath. It is just an easy way to create this circle for the wreath and later on to apply the greenery outside of the line. What I do, I paint some leaves in green color and I mix the olive green with green color to create different greens on my wreath. Leave your creativity to flow and paint the leaves as you wish. You don't necessarily need to follow along with me. Once the greenery is done, I want to paint some flowers. First I will take the yellow color and I apply some dots to recreate some spring flowers on this wreath. Now I proceed with some pink color. I will take quinacridone rose for recreating some smaller flowers, and I use really easy flowers with 5 petals, nothing difficult. It is an illustration of a wreath, so we can even invent some flowers as we wish, the colors, the form, and so on. I add some pink color because I think that it is needed to have some popping up effect on this wreath. To make this wreath looking more festive, I add some dots and I add those with splattering effect. It is very simple. We take some color with lots of water on our paintbrush and with another object like for example pencil or a paintbrush or even finger, we add the dots. Very simple but really pleasant exercise. Once the paper dries, or if you want you can use a hair dryer to dry the work, we proceed with the second layer and I add some details. I took some carmine color, it is a red color, that it is very similar to pink, and I add some details on the flowers. I also take some yellow color to add more intensity on the flowers that I painted earlier. Remember that on the first layer we always paint with lots of water and the colors are very bright. Later on, once we want to add some intensity, we add more color and less water. As a last step, I take some green color to add more intensity to the greenery. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video and leave a comment below. In today's video I want to share how to paint this marvelous postcard with this interesting egg and with floral theme. For replicating this postcard we will need an A6 size watercolor paper, a pencil, an eraser, some paints. I will be using my 36 pens watercolors White Nights, a palette, a paintbrush and some tissues. My paintbrush is number 4 Nova Synthetics by Da Vinci. I use a small size paintbrush. If you are painting any bigger size of watercolor paper, then you can use any bigger paintbrush, or if you use A6 size you can even take some thinner paintbrush if you wish. I start with a very simple work. I start with the greenery. I took only green color. If you don't have this kind of color of green, look what you have. You just feel free to stay creative and do as you wish. I outline little by little with this greenery the egg form. After painting several stems of greenery, I proceed with flowers. Later on I will add some more touches in green, but now I want to proceed with some flowers. And on my palette I have some carmine color, it is kind of red color with some pink touches. I paint several flowers. I will proceed with different flowers, colors and shapes to include in this egg, and after it I will add some more greenery if it is needed. I just paint the flowers as a star. I felt like it will be easier painting again the petals in this carmine color. You can use any color as you wish or as you have. look what you have. You don't necessarily need to have the same colors as I have on my palette. I move on with yellow color and I paint flowers with yellow. I paint like small dots. You can use to paint any other flower as you wish. As well, I add some flowers as you see in the middle of the egg or on the outline of the egg. As well, I change the flowers. I don't make all the flowers in the same shape, even though I use the same color. Moving on, I decided to go with cerulean blue color for other flowers. I wanted to have a mix of different colors, cool colors and warm colors on my palette. And the shape I just repeat what I have in red, but I do it with cerulean blue. Once again, I come back with the carmine flowers, but this time I take less water and more color. And it looks like we have different flowers on our postcard already. I make those even smaller, and my idea is to go on the outline of the egg. And little by little I cover all the shape of the egg on my postcard. And once I finished with the outline, I decided to go with some flowers inside of the egg. I just fill it in with color wherever I have white spaces. A quick trick for this kind of works that you are working with illustrations, you can paint some dots, not necessarily you have to paint some flowers. These dots are completing the composition and make it even richer. It looks really beautiful once the work dries. It looks like it is a complete work. In the very last details I add more greenery, but this time I paint only leaves without the stems. I just fill it in the space that we have in white with some more greenery, and pay attention that the greenery that I use is more consistent in color as I use less water and more color. And coming into this work, I invite you to draw and paint this beautiful scene. I will start with my Kohinoor B and my kneadable eraser. I will have my reference and I will start drawing the house. The horn, some hearts. We had Valentine's Day recently. here I will have flowers, but because we are making the drawing first, I proceed with all the details that we have. I will draw the heart, some windows, the details that we have here, like in form of hearts, I won't be drawing. I will leave it with watercolors. And the tulips we draw super easy. We draw like half an oval and then an oval inside. And last tulip flower. The leaves. Actually, everything I will remove with my kneadable eraser. So here I will make the heart, and here will be the word love. Then here I have a snowdrop. The leaves of the snowdrop, then the flowers that we have, these different colors, wild colors, wild flowers that we have, and last will be drawing the word happiness. Is homemade. The drawing is done. I will take my kneadable eraser to remove slightly the lines, and I will start with the watercolors. This drawing is more for learning and to see how we will position all the details and everything on the paper in the watercolors. But this work we could do it without any previous drawing because it would be enough for us. Please pay attention that when I remove the drawing, I leave some really light lines that will guide me throughout the painting. And with a thin paintbrush number 4 Da Vinci Nova Synthetics, I will proceed with the painting. I will take some red color. I will take some carmine color. And we'll paint the words in this red color. I use some red color, some green color. I will follow along happiness, mate, and this part where we have everything in red. Proceeding with red color. I used earlier another red color. I used Nether Lake Red Light, but now in this work I decided to go with carmine because it is more pinkish color. With carmine color I paint the roof of the house, but I also pay attention not to come into the tulips that we have. And also I proceed with some pink purple color. It is more pink to paint the base color for the tulips. I will add some orange color into this pink color because it is not as pink, and we'll have this beautiful mix of quinacridone rose color and some golden deep color. With carmine color I paint the heart that we have here. And now I proceed with different green colors. I will start with olive green and I will paint the stem for these beautiful tulips and the leaves. I will add different green colors. And also I will proceed on the house with this olive green. I will mark these details and little by little I will move on to the snow job. Meanwhile, the paper starts to dry. For example, here I worked with a losing effect. First I applied olive green and then only green color. That these leaves to get different green color, and we have this beautiful losing effect. I add details to the house with green, olive green, to make this beautiful house. As a base color for the windows, I will use olive green color. And with carmine color, I will use for this beautiful heart here. The green color can start to run and to mix with this carmine color. Don't worry about it. If you don't like this losing effect, what you can do, you can try the work. More carmine color, meanwhile it is wet, adding more color. And now, because the paper started to dry here, I will use more color, less water, to create already the details on this side. And later on I will move on the left side with the snowdrop and with other flowers. I overlay, I make some details with stronger color. I paint some hearts on the roof. I overlay this beautiful heart that we have on the house. And for the tulips, I take some carmine color and some quinacridone rose, that it is more purple color. And I create the details for these beautiful tulips. And now I will proceed with greenery, and with green color I will add some details to the stem to make it visible, and I will also add some details to the leaves. And now working on the windows with these details. This window which is still wet, so I proceed with the other two. If you feel like I'm going too fast, and I know that I'm going fast, just stop this video and follow along on your path. I use green color to add some details. And with olive green, I will paint these letters that we have here. And with the same olive green color, I will use this color for the stem for the snow job. And the leaf as well. Later I will add some other color, but now only olive green. I will paint the stem that we use for these flowers that we have. I will add also green. And as well here we have some lavender flowers, and I will paint like a bunch of greenery, of olive green, of green color for the stems, and later on I will use some violet colors too. Now I want to show you how I represent this beautiful white color for the snow job. On the snow job we mix up three colors, and these colors are ochre color, ultramarine color, and the ruby red color. Why we choose so many colors is because in this way we create this gray color that we need for the snow job. I will take a little bit more of blue. If we want to make the color warmer, we add more ochre color. If we want to make the color cooler, we take more the ultramarine color. So I have prepared the color on my palette. and I will apply as main color first. And you see the color, it is just too dark. What I do, I lift up with water and I paint it lighter. This same mix, but what I do it is that I'm using more water to create this beautiful color. And now we have different colors, flowers here. Within those we have and white. And these white colors, flowers, I will use this same color as I use for this snow job. I will take some yellow, I will add here some yellow. I will take some carmine color. And for lavender flowers, I will take violet color that I have on my palette. And how I paint lavender flowers, I just paint dots, one close to another. And because here I have some white space, I will make some greenery with green color, and actually here as well I will add some greenery. I just paint a stem with the leaves, super easy, nothing difficult. Usually I make these kind of things when I see that the paper it is too white and there is missed something. Just stay creative. We are artists, we are not photographers, and the idea is to make this work as pleasant as we can for us. Coming back to my snow job and to my mix of colors, because the paper dried a while, now I will add some details. And I will add the overlay here on this petal. I remove excess of water that I can paint the lines thinner. I paint the shadow that we have inside of this petal. And here I add some intensity. And last thing, and we are done, I will paint the word love. And that's it, the work is done. I want to paint with you some greenery. Why we will paint this greenery? Because I want to share with you how to mix different blue colors, yellow colors, and how to get these green colors, different shades of green in watercolors, and how to create interesting greenery on your palette as well. As I mentioned, we will be painting these leaves. For this, I will be using watercolor paper. I will be using 200 GSM, but it is 100% cotton. If you have 300 GSM, it will be even better. But just make sure that it is a proper watercolor paper. It can be a mixed medium paper. Hello, hello. We will also need watercolors. I will be using my 36 White Nights pens with the watercolors, some water, and a palette, obviously, because we will mix different blues colors and different yellow colors, cooler ones and warmer. And I will be using two paint brushes. One will be a Skoda size number 6. It is Kolinsky, and it will be a little bit bigger. And another one thinner for the details will be my number 4 Da Vinci Nova Synthetics. With this we will paint several details. As well, I have prepared another piece of paper, of watercolor paper, that will be my palette, where I will be sharing how to mix yellows and blues and how to get beautiful shading. Why we need the same paper? Because in this way you will maximally see how to get this greenery on your paper. And now I will change the camera and let's proceed with different greens. Obviously I can take greens from straight away from my palette because I have 36 pens and I have a wide palette of greens, but I won't do it, and I will initiate with different yellows that I have. First I have cadmium lemon yellow, which is considered a cool color. When you want to create some really interesting hues of green, not really natural, but something that will catch up with your eye, we can take cadmium yellow because it is a very vivid color, and a part of this, it is an opaque color. This is why it can even cover, if you do some mistakes, it can cover the mistakes that you will do. And I will take some bright blue color, and we can get this kind of lemon green. When we mix up the colors, the shades are slightly different. If we take into account that I have yellowish green, if I take straight from the palette, the hue is slightly different. But even though we can get these touches too. Then we have cadmium yellow medium. The color is warmer, obviously. And if I take the same bright blue is pretty cool color. And we will have a cooler green color. But if I would take, for example, yellow cadmium lemon, and I would mix, for example, with ultramarine color, ultramarine is considered a warmer blue color, I can see that the green will be much warmer. I took too much blue color, let me take more yellow. So we have this kind of mix. And for last I will take some other yellow color that I have. This yellow, if you see, it is something lighter than the previous yellow that I used. And I will take, for example, now just blue color. It is cobalt blue color. We can see another greens. Obviously we can play a lot with different shades of yellow, different shades of blue color. I have a wide palette of blue colors, so with these different blues I can take and play around a lot. For example, now I take cerulean blue, that it is the lightest blue that I have, and if I would use, for example, blue, I can see kind of olive green color that I can get. For example, if I take the olive green, we can see that it looks more or less the same. And now, after watching this palette, let's proceed with the interesting part where we will be painting some greenery. If you want, as I mentioned, you can take straight away from your palette your green color, but since we are in the learning process, I would advise you to take some yellow color, and I will take some cadmium blue, cobalt blue, sorry, and I will have some green. And I would start with a stem with leaves. Look how pretty are getting the shades when we mix up the colors. And if, for example, in this mix I would add more cobalt blue, I just take a little bit more, you can see that while it is still wet, we can create some interesting losing effect on this greenery. And meanwhile I will be painting, so now I basically use yellow color and cadmium cobalt blue and cobalt blue color for these leaves. And meanwhile I will be painting this leaf, this greenery. I want to answer the first question. It is about how do I start learning watercolor painting. I always say that before starting painting you should learn drawing, because many times we need some skills in drawing, because the painting process, the painting part is the easiest one. But if we don't have a background in drawing, then it will be slightly difficult to get the result that we wish. For this, I advise you to start, for example, each day for 10-15 minutes to draw something. In this way you will get a skill, a good skill of drawing. And the most important is that you start to draw by drawing things that surround you. For example, you have a table around, you will draw a table. You have a pencil, you are drawing a pencil, and so on and so forth. So till you find these skills, and then proceed obviously with some interesting projects, interesting drawings, and start to draw. Once you feel comfortable with your drawings and you think that you got to the result you wish, then obviously while starting to paint, I really advise you to learn from different artists, not from one, because in this way you will get the option to learn from different masters and to get some different skills till you create your own skill. When you are learning from only one artist, what happens is that you little by little start to copy this artist and you become a shade of this artist, and you don't create your own skill of drawing. And obviously you can start very easy. YouTube is a wide platform where you can find a lot of artists who can share with you a lot of interesting skills, and a lot of basic knowledges are started. For example, I try here on my YouTube channel as well to share basic knowledges. For example, this leaf session is about how to get green color. It is a very important class that you should learn on how to mix base colors, first colors like yellow and blue, and to get different shades of green. Even if it looks easy, I advise you to proceed, because only in such a way you will learn your palettes, you will learn how to mix your colors, you will learn a lot of interesting stuff about watercolors at the beginning. And little by little, once you feel confident with your works, obviously you can proceed with some paid courses, paid classes, where usually the information is more advanced level, and usually it's more intermediate level. And then you can learn even more deeply the field of watercolors. Okay, before we go with the second question, I want to proceed with another blue and yellow colors. Now I want to take some indanthrene blue color. Indanthrene blue color is a very dark color of blue, and I want to try some yellow again to see which green I will get. I get a pretty dark green color with indanthrene blue, and I can even get some cooler or warmer color. And with this I will paint, for example, some other leaves, another stem, and look how beautiful it gets with a darker shades of green. Obviously you can take some more water, and to make it more transparent I will take more indanthrene, and I will leave a part of from my palette cooler with more blue color, and another part with more yellow color. And I will play around with these colors. Look how beautifully it changes once we add more blue or more yellow colors. And let's proceed with the second question, is what materials do I need to begin watercolor painting? I always say that once you start, even if you are even if you want to have it like a hobby and don't want to proceed professionally, I advise you to buy a professional palette with watercolors, and it will work long term for sure, and you will get a much more pleasure once you will get your work. It is not necessarily to buy super expensive watercolors, but for example White Night, it is within the professional watercolors one of the most affordable, and obviously don't need a 36 pence palette. You can use a 12 palette, that it is pretty enough. And if you can customize your watercolor, it is even better. You can take and buy for example the colors that only you will use, and that's it. For example, if you pay attention to my palette, you can see that I use less than half of the colors that I have on my palette, which is okay, it is normal for this. This is about watercolors. Paintbrushes. If previously, maybe several years ago, I would say obviously you have to buy and to invest in your brushes, nowadays I won't say it because I have some pretty cheap paintbrushes that are working super well. For example, if you want to go professionally with watercolors, then yes, obviously you will need some professional paintbrushes. But if you are not going professional, it is more than enough to go to buy some synthetic paintbrushes, but good quality. Those are not expensive usually, and those are working really well. For example, this Da Vinci, even if it is a branded paintbrush, it is not costing a lot of money. Instead, a Skoda, because it is a Kolinsky hair, then yes, it is pretty expensive. For example, the Sable is the most expensive paintbrush, the synthetic is one of the cheapest, and the Squirrel is medium price. This is why you have to look what you wish. And as well, nowadays we have these synthetic paintbrushes that make the feeling of having a natural squirrel or Marta Kolinsky paintbrush, which is good enough as well. Palette, you can use the same paper that you use for mixing up colors, or you can use the basic palette that comes with your watercolors, or you can buy, there are a lot of options of selling just palettes. You can buy your palette and watercolors. There are a lot of good proper papers that are students grade, but that are watercolor. I advise you to start with students grade, but obviously once you go more and once you paint more, then I advise you to choose obviously some more expensive brands that produce really high quality watercolor paper. And depending on what you want to paint, if you are working, for example, a lot with wet on wet techniques, then I'd like to advise you cold pressed paper. And if you work with more botanical and floral works, then you can use some hot pressed paper. The difference between the hot pressed paper and the cold pressed paper is the how smooth it is once you touch it, and as well once you get different things done, the paper as well retain more or less the water on it. I don't really advise you to use mixed medium, but at the beginning obviously you can start with mixed medium. Within the cheap and good quality brands, it is Winsor & Newton and Canson. These papers have a high quality, and if considering the prices, are pretty good. Then within the expensive ones are Arches, Fabriano, and there are a lot of wide options of expensive, obviously. And let's move with another greenery. This time I want to take some turquoise blue color and mix it with yellow, cadmium, and to get this green color, this yellowish green color. And with this I don't even know what to paint, but I think that I will do some interesting algas or something like this. We can take more blue. Look how beautifully it creates these shades. And let's move with the question number 3. The question number 3 is, what are the basic techniques for watercolor painting? We have 2 basic techniques. It is wet on wet and wet on dry, or dry on wet as well. There are actually a lot of techniques, but basic ones are 2. The wet on wet and wet on dry technique. The difference, when we are working wet on wet, it is creating losing effect. And it is when you see this different color mixing one into another, this is usually about losing effect. It is great for creating interesting works, watercolors work, and as well with this technique as alla prima, that you are making the work in one way. You are not using anything to dry, you just work from scratch till the end in one side. In that way, the colors start to mix, there is a losing effect. Once the paper dries, you can add some details, and it works really beautiful. And you can create really interesting backgrounds in travel sketches. Now, for example, I have in front of me my Los Angeles painting. And for example, this effect that it is painted in the background, to create these blurred effects, you can create only with wet on wet technique. Or for example, these beautiful transitions from cool color to warm colors as well can be created only in wet on wet technique. Then we have the second technique, it is wet on dry technique. With wet on dry technique, I used to work with these beautiful palm trees over here, and this made me we should have to dry the work first, and then we apply the details. Now, for example, we also work with wet on dry technique here on this palette, and usually when we start to work, it is easier to start with this technique. This wet and dry technique is also used as for glazes, for using glazing technique. Glazing technique is when we apply several layers till we get the depth, the shades that we want on the work, and it works perfectly. Obviously, there are a lot of other different techniques, but about this I will create a video here on my channel. It will be called something like textures in watercolors. I already prepared a part of it, and I will prepare more details about it later. It is an interesting way to discover watercolors, to discover the ways that you can do and play around with watercolors. As well, it has an interesting relaxing effect, which is working really nice. And now let's move on with another greenery. I want to make It stopped. Hi. Okay, I'm back. And meanwhile, I will be playing around with colors. Just let me make a second. I will be using some indigo color because I want to make some dark color of the green, and I want to make it something cool enough. For this I use indigo. Indigo has this kind of color, and I will use some yellow color again. And I will get these interesting blue, green. It won't be really green. We should have a lot of yellow, but still it gets a very cool green color, what I like a lot. And I will go with some greenery like this. So I have this color, and I want to proceed with another question, is how do I mix watercolor paints to get the desired colors? Before you start working with watercolor, I haven't mentioned about this on the previous question. What you should do is you should learn a little bit about color theory. I was thinking to create actually a new video with color theory and the basics, what you should know about primary colors, secondary and tertiary colors. Once you play and you also not only watch but also you discover your work, your palette, what you have in your watercolors, you can better understand how much one color or another you can add to get the desired shade. And there is a good exercise when you are working with color theory, is that you create a diagram with a lot of colors and you apply, for example, more yellow, less blue, more blue, less yellow, 50%, 50. And you will see in this way, and you color. You create like a grid with squares, and in each grid you just add one color or another. In such a way, you learn how much color to mix of one color and another to get the shades that you wish. And in this way, only in this way, you will learn the perfect portion of how to mix up your colors to get the desired color. If you don't like to mix colors and you just want to go straight away with the colors, obviously it is better to have a wide palette of colors, and without learning anything you just take from your palette the color you wish. In this way obviously it will be easy enough for you. Okay, let's move on with another color. I want to make some interesting stuff. I will take my yellowish green that I have here and I will make an interesting greenery, and in this way I will create light and shadow. I will use from my palette that I already mixed colors, different greens. In this way I want to make some darker colors, somewhere lighter. And I take the greenery from my palette. Okay. And now with indigo again and yellow. No, I think that I will take indanthrine blue. Indanthrine blue I will take. And with indanthrine blue and with yellow, I will get a very cool color that I will paint the pine tree. I will make like this. Obviously we should take less water and more color. And we have this beautiful pine effect. What type of paper are best for watercolor painting? Uh, I already mentioned that if you are using paper for watercolors, I advise you to use specifically watercolor paper and not mixed medium paper. Mixed medium paper is working well, but still you are very limited in creating different interesting techniques to create some specific works. This is why I really don't advise you to add mixed paper into your supplies. And within paper, depending what you want to paint. If you want to paint like this greenery like this, what you have to do is to take you can take any paper that is cheap enough but that is watercolor and that it has 300 GSM density. If you, for example, want to create some more complex works, as I may already shared my work from Los Angeles, or now I will share from Malibu. If you want to create some works like this, obviously you will need some proper paper and you will need some cold pressed paper. Why cold pressed? Because we work a lot with the wet on wet technique, and you need that the paper to have that it allows you to create different effects. Hot pressed paper won't allow this effect, and as I mentioned earlier, hot pressed is better for botanical, cold pressed is better for creating some still life that it is wet on wet, travel sketches that are wet on wet, and so on. Now I will be mixing the cerulean blue with yellow. I want to make some light color this time. I will take yellow, I will take cerulean blue, and I get very nice green color. And I will paint. I can add more blue color once I paint, more yellow. I opted for yellow color because it was something in between the cadmium yellow medium and cadmium yellow lemon. I will add some more blue color. You see, I can play around the colors that I use. I can add some more yellow somewhere to make it yellowish. I can add blue color if I need to add some cooler shades on my work. How do I stretch watercolor paper? Now we are not stretching paper because we are working with a very detailed work, but we could stretch it with a washi tape. There are also pads that the paper is already stretched and you don't need to stretch it earlier previously. But if you, for example, want to learn in watercolors, if you want to go it more professionally, then I advise you to learn the process of stretching because it is an interesting process to do. What you should do, you, for example, are drawing the work first, and then you should wet the paper from both sides, and or you leave it straight on the straight table, and then you add washi tape around, or you just leave it wet and you paint it while it is wet. Why the process of stretching the paper is important in the watercolors? When we are not stretching the paper and we are working, for example, some more complex work than this, what happens is that the paper starts to get waved, and it is really difficult for us to enjoy the work because we have like different splashes of watercolors on the paper, and it is really difficult to work with those once the paper is not stretched. And but if you opt for a pad, I have here my Fabriano pad, my Fabriano watercolors pad, and the paper is already stretched, it is already splitted, and I have only here, I think, oh no, here, I have one side that it is not it is not stretched, that you can take off the paper. What makes it easier to work with it, that you don't have to prepare all this process of wetting the paper from both sides, waiting till the paper dries, till it stretches well, that you don't have this wavy effect, because the pad already is staying straight and allows you to work with very nice views. Now what I will do, I will take some ultramarine color. If you know, ultramarine color is a granulating color. It has some granulating effect on it, and it creates really interesting effects once mixed with other colors. And for this time I will take some cadmium yellow medium to have my green color. And I have this different color of green, and I will paint some interesting illustrations of greens. As I have a very few space on my paper already, I want to add some interesting colors too, and I think that ultramarine is an interesting color to work with because it is granulating and it creates interesting effects. If you want to know more about granulating colors in watercolors, you can watch, I have a YouTube video where you can watch it in detail. And with last, I don't know, I will take more ultramarine and I will just paint one leaf to make it cool enough. So you see, it happened that we have a little bit of warm colors and a little bit of cool colors on my palette. Okay, and let me share my last question for today, and on the next live session I will share more questions and answers. How can I achieve different textures and effects with watercolors? I already mentioned that I'm preparing already a YouTube video for this. I think that in 1 or 2 weeks I will have it. I have recorded some of this, a part of this, and I will have. Basically, what does it mean, different textures? The textures can be obtained by different means. You can obtain a beautiful texture while using granulating colors, as we did now with ultramarine. There are several granulating colors. How you can identify your granulating colors is, for example, on your palette, a part of the names of each of the colors, you have different signs. For example, here. And the ones that have the letter G, it means that it is a granulating paint. For example, if we look here on my palette, which is the color G, we see that cadmium red light, it is a granulating color. Then we have ultramarine, that is a granulating color too. Cobalt blue is a granulating color. Cerulean is a granulating color. Raw sienna, chromium oxide, burnt sienna, burnt umber, Mars brown are granulating colors, granulating paints. Why I say that textures, it creates really interesting textures once painting on the paper, because it has some paint on it. Another type of textures you can obtain while using glazing effect. For example, while the paper is still wet, you add some other colors, and the colors start to run, and it creates interesting glazing effect, and it creates some interesting textures. Another textures can be obtained with different products like salt, like rice, like you can use some other paper to lift up the color. In this way, you also create interesting textures where you lift up the color, and somewhere the color stays stronger, somewhere the color stay lighter. And in this way we can create some interesting effects, for example, for the snow, for the frosty vibes on our paper, and or for example for sand, and so on and so forth. Then another textures can be obtained with the splattering effect. For example, for the sand I use a lot of splattering effect, and we create some dots on the paper. It also creates interesting textures effect with the watercolors. We will need I will need something round for drawing the circle. We won't be drawing the work itself, we will be painting straight away with watercolors, but we need this round form for the wreath. And a pencil to draw the circle. If you want to, you can take an eraser, but we don't need an eraser. Then I will be using my 36 pens watercolors palette, but if you wish you can take any palette that you have and change slightly the colors that I will be using. We will need some green, some pink colors, some yellow colors, so we won't be going really far away from the normal palette that you can have only with 12 colors. We will need some plain water, a palette. I took 2 paintbrushes. I took Da Vinci number 0 Petit Gris Squirrel, and I took Da Vinci Synthetics number 4. These are some medium paintbrush and a thin paintbrush. As well, I took watercolor paper, 200 GSM, you can take any 300 GSM, and the size of the paper is an A5 size. I take an A5 size because it is easier for me to paint, it is not taking me too much time, and it is great for you to share with you all my thoughts on how to paint it. If you wish, you can take it bigger or smaller. You can prepare this work as a postcard for the Easter. So just choose whatever you like and how you enjoy this painting. I need a circled form. You can take a plate, you can take a tape as I do. So look whatever you have. We won't draw all the flowers that I plan to do, but what I wish I want to draw here some eggs. I will draw some egg form here. I will make some eggs smaller, other bigger. We will make those with different colors. I make 3 eggs, but you can make any more, so it is really up to you. As well, what I thought to do today is to paint the eggs with speckles, so we have some speckled eggs. And let's start with this. If you want, you can erase slightly the work and to make it lighter. The line that I drew the line for the circle, I made it light enough, but the eggs I made a little bit darker. And very simple, we are not going too far. I take some green color. Look what green color you have on your palette. If you wish, you can take some blue and yellow and mix some blue and yellow color. And I will follow along with this line that I have drawn with a circled form with the pencil. I will make one circle, but if you wish, you can make several circles, and you can create the feeling of a wreath. So you don't need to create a perfect round form. You can create any form you wish. Just create the idea of a bunch. Pay attention that I'm taking really light color of green. I'm not painting with dark color from the start. And I will take some olive green, a little bit of olive green, and I will paint some leaves. A little bit of green, darker green. Leave your creativity to flow and paint the greenery as you wish. You don't necessarily need to paint as I do, but it will be just easier if you are a beginner level. If you have some time to paint already and you paint for some time, then obviously you can add some creativity to this work on your own way. And now I want to take some yellow colors, simple yellow. As far as I told you already, I'm not going to choose some very different colors from any local palette, and I will paint a lot of small dots, one close to another. We can paint here some yellow dots. Here we will paint some yellow dots. We can paint even around the eggs some greenery. Leave your creativity to flow and paint as you wish. And I will take some pink color. You can take any red color if you don't have pink color. For example, I have carmine. Let me take some carmine color. And I just paint several petals. I will take some pink too. I will take some stronger red color to add some details. And once again, now I will take some green. To lift the color in watercolor, it is super easy. Just have to add some water and with a tissue quickly to remove the color. It is not as difficult as it looks. And with some greenery, I will add some details already with these flowers. We add some details to the work to make it with a popping up effect. I add some stems to the flowers So look whatever you need in your work. It is really important that you leave your creativity to flow and to feel the work, not only copying it as you see. And this way you will learn how to undo some mistakes, how to learn new processes, and it will be super interesting for you. Okay, the wreath is done, and what I will do now, I will proceed with the eggs. And I think that for the eggs, I will take some ochre color. And I will paint those with ochre color, and maybe I will take some, let me take quinacridone rose, I love this pink color, and I will paint this egg in pink and another with carmine. So let's make it different colors, but to have the same colors as we have on our work already. And meanwhile it is still wet, to create this speckled effect, first what I will do, I will add some raw sienna, some darker ochre color, you can take any brown color you have, and I would add some darker shapes. And I will add some details already. These details, it means that I add some dots on it to create this speckled effect. Still I will come back, now I'm just intensifying the color of the egg, and later I will add more details. And meanwhile it is still wet, I add more carmine color. The speckles I will do with some brown color. Look what you have. At this point I'm just adding some shadows, some details to the eggs, that it looks more interesting. And some quinacridone rose, less water, more color. Because the eggs are close one to another, the colors start to mix one into another. And it is not my idea for this work. But it is easy to do because we can dry with a tissue, we can add some more color, or we can take just a hair dryer and dry the work. If you have any hair dryer close by, just take your time to add. And with burnt sienna, you can take any brown colors you have, less water and more color. I start to add speckles. For example, this egg, it is still wet, and what I will do, I will add some more form for it, because the form changed because of watercolors. And I proceed again with burnt sienna. It is kind of brown. You can choose any brown you have. You can take any darker brown. You can take some sepia. Sepia as well is very dark. I will add some sepia to the red egg. It is great to add these speckles once the paper it is somewhere in between. Somewhere it is a little bit wet, somewhere it is a little bit dry. It creates an interesting effect. But as well, with these smaller speckles you can add only when the paper is dried completely. So with sepia, I think that I will proceed on these darker colors. If burnt sienna I used for this ochre yak, then for this pink one and red I will be using sepia. I will add some more green color here below. I just think I won't add more. And that's it. We will need watercolor paper. I will be using my 36 pen palette. I will be using my palette to mix the colors, and I will be using today my number 6 Skoda Kolinsky. Is Marta Kolinsky hair paintbrush. I decided to go because we will work with different purple colors. The paper, once it will dry, I will work with micron pen, and we will need as well some water. So I have my water, my paintbrush, and let's start. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colors of blue, and I have several colors of red. I will start with my first blue color. It will be bright blue color, and I will mix it with a ruby color. I try more or less to create the same proportions. I won't be doing cooler or warmer colors. I try to go 50-50. It is up to you. If you add more ruby or more red color, it will get warmer. If you will take more blue color, then it will be cooler. Now I take ultramarine color and I mix it as well with the ruby color. And I follow along. Not as big difference. The only difference is that the ultramarine color is granulated color, and we have these kind of shades that are getting into the paper with ultramarine color. Moving next to the cobalt blue color, and the same, I will use the ruby color. Now I used a different blue colors from my palette and one red color. And we can see that the purple color that we use is more or less the same. Indanthrene blue and ruby. Oh, sorry, I took cobalt blue. Indanthrene blue and ruby. Same purple. Now let's take turquoise blue and ruby. Indanthrene, turquoise blue. I took more blue color, and this is the reason that the color went cooler. You see, I can mix and get this color or warmer or cooler. Let's take some indigo and ruby. We get already the darker shape because of the nature of the color. And let's take cerulean blue. cerulean blue and ruby. And let's do it. More or less we have the same shade of purple, but what I would like to share more is that if you use cerulean blue or ultramarine, we get granulated colors, and then other blue colors are not granulated, only cobalt blue is half granulated. Now let's move on with another red color. I will remove this purple color from my palette, I will clean it, and let's move with different red color. For this, I think that I will take some carmine color. Carmine, it is a beautiful red. I like it a lot. It has a touch of pink on it. And let's proceed with bright blue. Look how different it looks, the purple with different red color. Yeah. If we take a little bit more red to get it warmer, we get a beautiful pink color. You see how carmine changes the shade of purple. Let's move carmine with ultramarine color. Same. Look how pretty is this violet. I choose here carmine color with ultramarine. Let's play with cobalt blue with carmine. Same. Look how different, if the shades of using different blues but one red had one color, now we see that the carmine, how it changed this purple color. Indanthrene blue with carmine, more indanthrene, a little bit more carmine. We get a very nice violet color. Now let's move with turquoise blue and with carmine. If we add more turquoise blue, we get slightly cooler the purple color. And, and indigo. Indigo, carmine, more indigo, and we simply have a darker shade of purple. And now I think that I will move with the last red color. I won't be going with a lot of red colors because I have a large palette of blues and a large palette of red colors. I don't have enough paper to mix all the combinations. What I will choose, I think that I will take one darker red color, and I'm in doubts to go with English red or with Madder Lake. I think that I will go with Madder Lake Red Light. This is also a beautiful red color. It is a little bit darker. And going again, bright blue. I took more blue color. This is why the color is more violet. I will take ultramarine, more ultramarine, then I take bright blue color, again some Madder Lake red, cobalt blue, then indanthrene blue, why I didn't choose to paint straight away with the violet color, mainly because my violet color is not, it says low light fastness. It means that it can fade away really quick. And this is the main reason that I use it very few times, only when I know that the work is not for some interesting purposes. Here, because we have a learning purpose, I want to go with other colors. Now I use turquoise blue with Madder Lake, and let's go with indigo. The previous color I haven't used the cerulean blue, even though you have noticed that it looked really nice. Took more color, more indigo, and let's take here cerulean blue with a little bit. I took too much red, and let's take cerulean blue. And here we get the other color. What I will do with other violet colors, I will go here to remove these edges and to make these smoother transitions. As we worked as well with green color, now we worked with different shapes of purple color. We learned during this process of painting how to apply different colors, how to mix different colors to get a violet colors. At this point, you have already learned two main ways on how to mix the main colors. For example, last time we used yellow and blue to mix colors to create different greens. Now we have learned to mix different red and different blue colors. Then we will use, on the last video, we will use yellow and red colors to get different oranges. The idea is that we turn little by little till we learn all the color theory and how we get these colors. It is interesting to learn primary colors, how those mixes up, and we get secondary colors. So the purple and the green are secondary colors, as well as orange color is a secondary color. And after we will proceed with the third class, with the third leaf session, I will share with you more about tertiary colors, because in our day-by-day life we use a lot of secondary colors and tertiary colors to work with on our watercolors. And now wait a second, I will dry my work and we will proceed with the drawing of the flowers. Because the theme of our latest videos here on YouTube channel, it is about flowers, I invite you to follow along with flowers and prepare any black pen that you have. You can take any simple black pen, you can use a micron pen, look whatever you have. And let's draw some flowers. Very easy, just draw a stem. And we can, now I will be drawing some greenery. Leave your creativeness to flow. Don't be afraid of doing mistakes, of drawing not exactly as I do. Just relax and enjoy the process. I invite you also to experiment with other red and blue colors that you have on your palette, because I'm sure that even with 12 colors you probably have different red and blue colors. It is more than enough to learn how to paint and how to mix up the colors. Drawing a daisy. Doodling process is considered very relaxing and mindful. So if you have some free time and you need to relax, it is working even better than reading a book. I draw now several wavy lines, circled wavy lines, to recreate the flowers. As we are drawing illustration, nothing real, just follow your intuition on how to do it. I will make the stem thicker for this flower. You can watch this video later, not only in direct with me. It is really up to you. this time I will make a little bit thicker and with small touches. Here I will make the greenery. And that's it. Thank you for watching.